Every day, countless founders and investors dive into crowdfunding with hope, fire, and vision. Yet, behind that sparkling surface, a storm brews, a storm born from the line nobody should ever cross, but so many stumble over. What happens when crowdfunding breaks past legal boundaries? When that sacred trust shatters, it's not just a slap on the wrist, it's a complete disintegration of everything you're building. The promise of innovation, the trust of backers, the whole foundation of your project crumbles like glass underfoot, and no one sees the wreckage until it's too late. It's not about what should happen, it's about what does happen, the hellish cascade of consequences chasing you down the moment the law catches up. No fancy jargon or vague threats, just real pain. Frozen accounts, shredded reputations, lawsuits lurking in every shadow, investors pulling back with furious eyes, and worst of all, that gnawing, gut-twisting betrayal of your own mission. Imagine your crowd, the people who believed in you, suddenly feeling like victims, their trust trampled as the headlines scream fraud or misconduct. Look around. This mess isn't rare. It's happening more often than people admit, because most founders glide close to the edge without realizing it. They think they're playing by the rules, but the rules twist beneath their feet like quicksand. One wrong step, one misread clause, one ignored regulation, and suddenly crowdfunding doesn't feel like a launch pad. It's a cage, locking you into a nightmare where every move is scrutinized, and every promise you made is weaponized against you. The system is brutal because it wasn't designed with rebels or risk takers in mind. It's made for the cautious, the comfortable, who stay inside the lines. You, who burn to break those lines, face judgment, isolation, and silence when you most need allies. The pain lies not just in potential legal hits, but in the suffocating fear that your vision, your drive, everything you poured into your dream might burn out in flames before it ever takes off. But here's the shock. The pain can be avoided, and the chaos can be reversed if you listen close and act smarter than anyone else in the game. The difference between becoming just another failed cautionary tale and a towering success isn't luck. It's precision. It's ruthlessness in protection. It's mastering the maze of law without letting it trap your soul. First, no one talks enough about how critical it is to know your real guardrails before you ever start. Not the watered-down advice or the generic tips tossed around in forums, but cold, exact knowledge of what you can risk and what's outright forbidden. That means hiring legal experts who don't just rubber stamp your plans, but challenge every assumption. It means demanding brutal honesty from advisors who see beyond the dream and spot the mines laid in your path. Second, transparency isn't optional, it's your lifeline. Half-baked promises and vague disclosures are the poison gas that will choke your project the moment doubts rise. Your crowd doesn't just want hope, they need certainty, clarity, and truth, especially when times get tough. That's why the best founders don't hide risks or gloss over challenges. They lead their communities through every twist with raw, unfiltered communication. It's this fierce honesty that builds unbreakable loyalty and makes your backers invincible allies when storms hit. Third, the power of structure must never be underestimated. Folding your crowdfunding campaign into a well-crafted legal entity with clear roles, rights, and responsibilities gives you armor against external attacks and internal chaos alike. You must think of your project not as a wildfire, but as a strict, disciplined force, focused, methodical, impenetrably clear on who does what and where accountability lives. Here's where many crumble. They rush in with heart, but without a system so strong, it can hold the weight of success and failure. Without that system, the moment something cracks, the whole thing collapses like a house of cards. But with it, you can flex, evolve, and even when you hit legal snags, you don't drown. You pivot and rise. Now imagine stepping beyond this, beyond mere survival, into a space where crowdfunding transcends the usual nightmare scenarios. Imagine a network, not just a platform, where founders, investors, and leaders don't just connect, but unite for radical transformation. A collective where the rare brilliance isn't seen as a risk or anomaly, but the very lifeblood of progress. A place sculpted to serve exceptional individuals, to magnify synergy, to turn misalignment into raw, uncompromising power. This isn't about checking boxes or staying safe. It's an insurgency against complacency and mediocrity. It's about those who burn so fiercely they refuse to be slowed by broken rules or fractured systems. It's where you can shed the illusion of freedom handed down by old power and embrace true sovereignty, where your will becomes your weapon and your network your fortress. In that space, breaking legal boundaries isn't about reckless defiance. It's about knowing where the boundaries lie so clearly and crafting spaces so revolutionary that they push the edge without falling off. It's about building infrastructures invisible to the old world, but essential to the new. Networks that don't just facilitate funding, but shape a new reality, where your ideas don't just survive, but blaze a path for others to follow. So, how do you cross this threshold? First, reject waiting. Waiting for permission, waiting for clarity, waiting for the world to catch up to your vision. The moment hesitation bites, the system tightens its grip. You must move, deliberately, persistently, with eyes wide open. Know the laws, yes, but never let them cage your mind. Second, embrace radical selectivity. Find the few who burn like you do. Align with them. Forget mass markets, forget fleeting trends. The power lies in precision connections. Those who challenge you, support you, and push you beyond every limit. Third, practice ruthless transparency. Not just with your investors, but with yourself. Question every step, every decision. Don't settle for partial truths, because in this game, half measures will kill you. Be your own harshest critic before anyone else can be. Fourth, think long game, always. Crowdfunding isn't a quick hit, it's an epic journey. It requires patience the impatient can't fathom. But those who grasp this can outlast storms, outmaneuver lawsuits, and build legacies that no broken rulebook can erase. And finally, transform. Don't just comply or compete. Redefine the very reality of crowdfunding by living beyond limits, beyond borders, beyond false freedoms imposed by outdated systems. Live as a sovereign architect of your future, forceful enough to break molds but wise enough to weave new, stronger frames. Whatever stage you're at, whatever pain you've faced or fears you carry, know one thing. The chaos and collapse so many dread only happen when you play blind, when you surrender control to anyone else's rules but your own. But when you wake up, when you wield knowledge and connection and unbreakable will as your tools, no system, no law, no misstep can contain you. This path is grueling. It demands fire, discipline, and boldness few dare to embrace. But those who do will become the crucible from which the next revolution of founders and investors emerges. Not bound by fear, not shackled by broken laws, but unchained, unstoppable. Crowdfunding was not meant to be a cage or a minefield. It was meant to be a weapon and a launchpad for those who refuse to let anything stand in the way of becoming more. So, step beyond fear. Step beyond the broken rules. Step into a network, a code, a movement built for the rare few who burn for real freedom and real power. No more illusions. No more waiting. Rise, align, transform, because the future isn't made by those who follow. It's made by those who break boundaries, yes, but only those who break them, knowing exactly how hard to push before the world bends to their will.